You know, it's been said that no man is an island, but most of us start the week feeling like one. You might be thinking, oh, what does this mean? Why are we talking about islands? What's so bad about being an island? Well, you see, we humans are social beings. We need to connect with other people. But after a weekend of catching up on our favorite TV shows or spending quality time with family and friends, come Monday morning, many of us retreat back into our shells. And then there we are, sitting alone in front of our computers waiting for another work week to begin. And if your company is anything like mine, Mondays are usually filled with an endless stream of meetings. Sometimes those meetings are necessary, but let's be honest, they're not always fun. So much so that researchers from the University of North Florida recently conducted a survey asking employees why they hate Monday morning Zoom meetings. Their findings: a whopping 80% of employees either strongly disliked or hated them. Today, we're going to break down some of their key findings and discuss what you can do as a leader to ensure your Zoom meetings don't fall into the dreaded category. Welcome to the channel. Let's dive right in. First, let's talk about the reasons why these meetings are so detested. According to the survey, 47% of respondents said it was because they had to be in person. Now, I know what you're thinking. Wait, this is a Zoom meeting. By definition, it's not in person. Well, yes, but think about all the other meetings you have on Monday mornings. If your company has returned to the office, or even if it hasn't, chances are you're already participating in several in-person meetings. So by the time Monday rolls around, everyone is mentally checked out from having to physically sit through yet another meeting. Next, 27% of respondents said they hate Monday morning Zoom meetings because they felt forced to attend. In fact, 39% of employees say they attend meetings that could have been an email. This leads to the next reason, which is 26% of people say it is because they feel like meetings are a waste of time. Now, if you've ever attended a meeting where the purpose wasn't clear, where there was no actionable next steps, or if you've ever sat through a meeting where you were the only person who didn't have their camera on because someone forgot to turn theirs off, you know exactly what I mean. Then there's the issue of timing. After all, Monday mornings are when most of us have the most pressing deadlines from the previous week still hanging over our heads. And to top it all off, Monday mornings are often when we have the most energy. So having to spend that precious time and energy on meetings instead of focused, deep work leaves many of us feeling drained and demotivated before the day has even begun. Now, while the study focused on why employees hate Monday morning Zoom meetings specifically, we'd argue that these reasons apply to all pointless meetings. So how can you, as a leader, help make sure your team does not have to endure any more unnecessary meetings? Well, first, you should establish a culture of thoughtful meeting design. This means that anyone who schedules a meeting has to ask themselves two questions. 1. Is this meeting absolutely necessary? And 2. Have I done everything I can to make sure this meeting achieves its objectives? If the answer to either of these questions is no, then you shouldn't have the meeting. If you're not sure whether or not the meeting is necessary, there's a great rule of thumb you can follow called Parkinson's Law. It states that work expands so as to fill the time available for its completion. Or, put another way, the longer you give yourself to do something, the longer it will take you to do it. The same applies to meetings. If you schedule a 2-hour meeting, people will drag it out for the entire 2 hours. But if you shorten it to 30 minutes, they'll manage to cover the same amount of material in that half the time. Of course, this isn't to say that you should cut every meeting down to 30 minutes. Rather, by shortening the length of a meeting, you force yourself and everyone else to get straight to the point. And if the meeting naturally ends early because the discussion wrapped up, well, then everyone gets to enjoy the rest of their day a little bit earlier. Second, you want to make sure you're not forcing anyone to attend meetings they don't need to be at. According to a study by Atlassian, the average employee spends 31 hours each year in meetings they weren't invited to. To avoid this, you want to make sure your meetings are as inclusive as possible. One way to do this is to set clear agendas and send them out in advance. That way, people can decide for themselves whether or not they need to be at the meeting. If you have meetings that are more all hands, then it's perfectly fine to force attendance. Just make sure the meeting is relevant and useful. For example, during the pandemic, my CEO held daily all-hands meetings where he would share updates on the company's performance and address any questions we had. Everyone was required to attend, but because these meetings were both relevant and useful, no one minded. Speaking of agendas, another way to make sure your meetings are inclusive is to create one and share it in advance. Creating an agenda allows others to prepare in advance and ensures everyone is working toward the same goal. Then, stick to the agenda. Too often I've seen meetings go off the rails because the leader is either afraid of confrontation or simply doesn't know how to steer the conversation back to the topic at hand. Remember, your job is to facilitate the meeting, not participate in it. So, if you notice the discussion veering off track, gently steer it back. You can do this by saying something like, "That's a great point, but right now we're discussing topic. We can talk more about this later." Lastly, and perhaps most importantly, make sure every meeting has a clear objective. If everyone on the call knows why they're there and what you hope to achieve, they're more likely to buy into the meeting and actively participate. Likewise, if you wrap up the meeting without a clear action plan, everyone walks away wondering, "So, what was the point?" So, before you end the meeting, reiterate the objective, summarize the key points discussed, and identify the next steps. As the leader, it's your responsibility to make sure that every meeting your team attends is productive and worthwhile. Take this seriously, and your team will thank you for it. Now, before we leave you with our final thought, here's a quick disclaimer. Some of the statistics and research we shared in this video came from sources we paid to gain access to. If you're interested in learning more, check the description below for links to the reports. Now here's the thing. While we all know that meetings aren't always the best use of our time, there are times where they are necessary. And when executed properly, meetings can be an effective way to build relationships and move important initiatives forward. This is why it's so important to be intentional about the meetings you do decide to hold. Use them as opportunities to connect with your team, brainstorm ideas, and solve problems. Don't use them as an excuse to micromanage your team or beat up on them in front of others. If you approach meetings with the right mindset, everyone will be eager to attend, even if it is on a Monday morning. If you liked this video, we highly recommend you check out our video on how to give better feedback. And, as always, thanks for watching.